Greetings, I'm Sophis. I've been considering revisiting some old builds since a few patches have passed and they could use some polish. They aren't big adjustments, but I figured it'd be worth bringing it up and giving the build a better overall presentation compared to back then. This is why today I'm bringing you a newer version of the Prosperous Swarmers. This one was made way back in the release of Ways of War, when the current hero classes we have today were still fairly new. All in all, it was a build that focused on empire expansion and on having plenty of units to field thanks to cheaper armies and a strong economy. That aspect still works fine, but it can use some adjustments to have it be more efficient. First, it used Tome of the Horde to give faction units a damage boost at the cost of losing combat efficiency. Of course, now we have the means to entirely circumvent the cost of having more models in a unit by stacking Tenacious with Tome of Virtue. It's easy enough to slot it in to unlock that combination. Second, there's a way to make healing very efficient for this faction, stacking two passives on top of one another. Inner Mastery from Discipline can be combined with Gaia's Chosen, as the plant subtype grants another 20% healing efficiency. Since in this new version you'll have access to Light Spirits, which have a considerable single target heal, you can restore your units very efficiently. And third, there's now a way to further boost your economy. In the original, the build combined Tome of Prosperity with Tome of Paradise. Shrine of Prosperity and Garden of Bliss both take from your food income and convert that back into gold and mana, rewarding your expansionism and focus on food production. However, now you can boost it even further thanks to the Vision of Destiny society trait. At the start of a match, you simply select the Nature Destiny. You'll have to claim provinces and increase your nature affinity, but it is an easy enough requirement for the strategy. Once fulfilled, you'll get a handful of benefits, but the most interesting is that now your cities take 50% of their food production and give you mana income. As far as your armies go, this faction is fairly straightforward. Cheap units, not a lot of downsides to losing health, access to plenty of healing, and your frontline can hold for a while, even if not as well as other builds I've done. On top of the Tenacious Virtue Spirit combo, the frontline has Steadfast from Keeper's Mark, so unless you're going up against something that takes away positive status effects, they should hold. But overall, this is a quantity over quality sort of strategy. Your Tier 3 cultural unit is a decent mounted archer, or a hardier frontliner, depending on which subculture you go for. More details on that in the Society and Form Traits section. Aside from that, you'll have the option to field Light Spirits and Druids of the Cycle as your supports, and you'll have access to a handful of nature units, especially when you fulfill your Vision of Destiny. The benefit is that with Gaia's Chosen, most of your roster will count as plant units, which qualifies most everything you field to receive a benefit from your Tier 5's enchantment, Force of Nature. As far as your heroes go, I would say the classes that play better with this are Ritualists, Battle Saints, and Rangers. Healing and backline damage seem like the best uses for your stronger units, since your armies are very cheap and numerous. But you can pick any combination you prefer. Even Elementalists will still benefit from something keeping away dangerous enemy units while they rain down area damage. The same goes for your ruler. There's no real preference here. Your faction works just fine no matter what you prefer to field. But it's worth noting that a Storm Giant in particular would accelerate city growth further thanks to the rune spells. Now let's talk about Society and Form Traits. We're playing Oathsworn. I've mentioned in the previous section that your Oathsworn Tier 3 unit may vary. This is because even though on the original build it was focusing on harmony, I can see it working for any other subculture. You have enough affinities to pick it without disrupting the requirements. I wouldn't recommend Oath of Strife since there isn't anything in this build boosting raiding, but it's not as though it'll be a bad combination. Harmony is best if you want to play the vassal game and be more defensive. And righteousness is good if you prefer a little more aggression. The society traits are prolific swarmers and vision of destiny. We want cheap armies, so prolific swarmers just make sense. And the vision of destiny is meant to be picked as a nature vision to boost your mana income further and give your army some minor benefits, as discussed before. With form traits, we can get more points now than we did back then. Tenacious is required for the Virtuous Spirit combo, and Inner Fire stays, to get more value out of your units being attacked and to mitigate the fire weakness of Gaia's Chosen. Instead of Cold-Blooded, we can pick Careless and go for Strong, to benefit melee and physical ranged units. Now let's look at the tomes. At Tier 1, we start with Discipline. I've explained this tome being universally good before. It still holds true in this case. Inner Mastery's healing boost stacks with the plant subtype, and you have enchantments for ranged as well as melee. Tome of the Horde is next. The original build had Spawnkin, and we want to keep it. Since we're doing the Virtuous Spirit and Tenacious combo, this is just a plain 20% damage bonus. Summon Irregulars also plays well to the strategy, letting you summon your cheap low-tier units. Virtue replaces Beacon from the old build, because of Virtuous Spirit as mentioned. House of Charity is a strange option that you have with this build. It turns your gold into food and production. The thing is, you're already turning your food into gold, so you may want to avoid building this structure. The rates are different though, depending on your city and the overall condition of the map. Next, Tome of Fertility. This one is primarily for the campaign usefulness. Temple of Fertility boosts your food income, as do Bountiful Fields. Both will help you push that growth strategy further, and Bountiful Fields will give you an early mana income boost. Restore the Land is also a good tool to have on hand, especially now that so many things in-game can terraform terrain. Tome of Cycles has been reworked since the original build, and it seems like a better fit than Glades. Not only do you get a melee and ranged enchantment with Blades of Decay and Blooming Projectiles, but you also get a good support unit with Druid of the Cycle. Plus, the Life Seed effect from Blooming Projectiles gets more mileage, giving your faction will have 40% enhanced healing. Tome of Sanctuary was also reworked, with Light Spirits being a part of it now. It makes more sense than Tome of Cleansing Flame, as Keeper's Mark combines better with the Virtuous Spirit and Tenacious combo, giving your units a chance to heal up before being eliminated altogether. Anointed People boosts your form units a little further, and the rest of this tome benefits you in the campaign map primarily. At Tier 4, we have Tome of Paradise. You can pick it or pick Prosperity first, as both do the same for different resources, as mentioned. Paradise will give you mana from all that food that your cities are producing. Fortress of Vine plays well with the domain defense from Sanctuary, and once you use Gaia's Chosen to turn your units into plants, it'll grant every recruited unit an extra rank. You'll also want Enchanted Bloom for more heavy-duty terraforming in case Restore the Land from Fertility isn't enough for the job. Then you pick Tome of Prosperity if you haven't already. Shrine of Prosperity for the gold production based on your food production. Garden of Affluence rewards you for having plenty of foresters and farms in your domain. And you pick Blessed Armors and Staves of Grace to boost your troops. Then pick Goddess of Nature for Force of Nature. As I've said before, most of the units you'll have access to will be plants, so they'll qualify for disenchantment. And that's the newer version of the build. I hope you find it more enjoyable and streamlined than the original. And if you haven't played the original, the spirit remains the same. It's still a straightforward build with cheap armies and a strong economy backing it. So that's what I have for you today. Expect a second video to drop on the 24th, also revisiting an old build and polishing it up to more current patch standards. That said, I hope you're having a good day, and see you in the next one.